So this is the Fleckerfossen, and we've just been reading something that says basically this was on the Discovery route. So people who came from Stavanger who were trying to get Hardanger Ford, they basically built first of all a footway and then a carriageway that they could come along this road. And this was a very popular stopping point in the 1890s and the early 1880s for people who were going on that route. And it's the, as I say, it's the Fleckerfossen waterfall, and it's quite impressive actually.
Call it off, let it go.
So this is the Hardanger Vida Plateau, and it's quite desolate and wild up here, but it is absolutely stunning. It's very snowy, as you can see, and yeah, it is amazing. It's obviously a ski centre in the winter, but it's not really winter anymore, and there's a reservoir behind Roger, which he'll show you in a minute as well, which is still mostly frozen over. And it is cold up here as well, very, very chilly up here. But it's going to be a nice place to spend the night before we head back south again tomorrow, I think. And yeah, the views are quite amazing. The views down the valley there are quite outstanding, actually. All you can see in front of you is snow-capped peaks. Last night we camped on the Hardanger Vida Plateau, and it was beautiful up there, very snowy. It was lovely when we got there, and it was very clear, and it was quite sunny actually. I had my sunglasses on when we got there, but we've woken up to another grey, rainy day this morning, and we want to show you the fact that in tunnels in Norway, anything is possible, and I mean absolutely anything, because in this tunnel that we're going to come into very shortly, there is a roundabout in the tunnel, which you'll see in a minute, hopefully. So it's now Friday morning, and this is the walk up to Pulpit Rock, and we were going to do this on Wednesday, but we got up and the clouds were so low you could barely see your hand in front of your face, so we thought we'd like to do it today instead. And the clouds aren't great again either, but we decided to do it anyway, and we don't quite know what it's going to be like when we get to the top, but we will see. It's been a fairly tough walk so far, I would say. Well, not tough, but fairly exhausting in terms of the number of hills, and you have to watch where you're going. You can't just wander because there's lots of big boulders and rocks and things. But it's a nice walk. It's beautiful scenery when you can see through the clouds, I think it's fair to say as well. So this is the top of Pulpit Rock. It's now 8:30 in the morning. It took us 1 hour 28 minutes to walk up here. It says 2 hours. 1 hour 28 was absolutely fine. We didn't stop really. And unfortunately, it's pretty much exactly the same as it would have been on Wednesday, this is the view from Pulpit Rock, which is just a whole load of cloud. So I'm not going too near the edge because you can't really see where the edge is anyway. And it's a bit of a shame, but hey ho, there you go. It's just one of those things, isn't it? No, it does mean it's not as crowded indeed. So this is the way back from Preikestolen, and we thought it was all going to be downhill on the way back. We were wrong. Although we did know there were a few uphills, but still a bit of a challenge. So we're nearly halfway back to the van, or to Henry I should say, and the sun is certainly trying to come out, but it's still very cloudy. But we didn't see any of this scenery on the way up really because it was just too cloudy. But it's lovely. It's quite barren, I suppose, in places. Well, not barren, but it's quite bleak. But it's absolutely gorgeous. So this morning we got up at 5:30 again to try and go up Pulpit Rock again. We did the same on Wednesday and we decided not to go up because it was too cloudy. And this morning we got up and then we drove up there, thought no, it was too cloudy, so then came back down here for breakfast. And then we drove out of town and actually thought, actually, we're going to regret it if we don't do it. So we drove back up there and we finally did walk up Pulpit Rock. We got to the car park about 20 to 7, quarter to 7, something like that.
So about 3/4 of an hour later than we originally planned.
Finally started walking just before 7 o'clock, didn't we, by the time we got everything sorted out.
There were quite a few camper vans and cars in the car park. The car park doesn't open until 6. So
Yeah. There were a few people there, weren't there? And there were, we passed, I think there were 5 people passed us and we passed 4 people on the way up. So we saw 9 or so people on the way up there. And there were a few people there when we got to the top as well, weren't there?
But yeah, a dozen at most.
Yeah, it was not busy at all.
No.
It was also, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face when you got up there, which was a bit of a problem, but I'm still glad we did it anyway, because otherwise I think we'd have spent the whole time saying, if only.
Yes, the Pulpit Rock's 604 metres vertical drop into the fiord. And
To the Lisa Fjord below.
we couldn't see anything. No.
Couldn't see anything. So we didn't go too near the edge because we couldn't really see where the edge was either. So we didn't go too near the edge, but we've got pictures and we've done it.
Yeah, we have.
And I'm very glad we did it.
Yes, I am.
But on the way back, it was horrendous. The number of people going up there. There were 8 buses in the car park. The cars bit was nearly full. The camping bit, the motorhome bit was nearly full as well.
Yep.
And it was horrendous coming down. I mean, just people all everywhere. The last bit particularly, the last mile or so.
And some of them we said, don't think they're going to make it up there. They were walking so slowly and yeah. But, you know, each to their own. So, yes, highly recommend, if you do go up, and highly recommend going up, go early.
Yeah.
Or they do say go late as well. So they do say go about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
But
So either get there at 6 when it opens or go about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Not 9 o'clock in the morning. No, that was just horrendous. But it was a lovely walk up. It was, I have to say, it's 4K. It was probably tougher than I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of rocks and scrambling and other bits and pieces. Not scrambling necessarily, but
none of the path is very even. They've
No.
got some. They've got the bits that probably used to be the worst bit was probably the boggy bits,
Yeah.
which they've now got walkways across, and they're lovely. They're nice and even, not a problem at all. But the rest of it is kind of chunks of rock that they've sort of formed together to make a path, and yeah, it's not ideal for your ankles or your knees, is it? I would say.
No, it's not. I don't like heights, to say the least, but I was slightly apprehensive going up there, but there was no point. I thought, oh, actually, I don't like this.
It's probably because you couldn't see over the edge anyway.
I was about to say, I think that's probably why. So I had no idea what was down the other side. So,
but
that
at the
could have
top,
been
there
why.
were some narrow bits, actually. There were some narrow bits where there was potentially a kind of a drop to the side, and there were also bits which kind of had wooden boarding around the edge of a rock as well. And
Yes.
if you'd met all those people coming up, it would have been an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So we're very glad we got up early. We're very glad we finally decided to agree
We
to
did.
do it. Oh,
We
God,
did.
decided to do it
Yep.
and just said, yeah, we'll just go for it anyway. No, it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a lovely walk.
Well worth it, although we were saying that we parked in the car park for 3.5 hours or something. If you park over 2 hours, you have to pay for 24 hours, and it was 250 kroner. We parked in a bit of a car park last night, but it does allow camper vans, and we had electricity, and that was 200 kroner. So at the moment there's about 13 kroner to the pound, so it's about nearly £20 to park
Yeah.
in the car park up there. It's a lot of money, but on the other hand, as we said, apparently all the money goes back into improving the walkways and everything else. So
And they were actually working on the walkways when we were
They
there,
were.
weren't they? So,
They were.
you know, you just have to say, well, fair enough. And it's one of those things you've got to do it when you're here, I think, as well.
You have, yes. Yeah, we would have been very disappointed if we hadn't have done.
Yeah, I think so. This is part of the main route to Bergen, and it's the ferry that you have to take as part of it. And we're just coming into Karmøy now. I keep wanting to call it Karmøy now. It's meant to be a very low-lying island, but very historic, to do with the Vikings mostly. And we're going to camp on here for a couple of nights. Welcome to the little Statue of Liberty. We are in Visnes in Norway, and this is a tiny hamlet on the Karmøy Island on the west coast of Norway. And you think, why is there a little Statue of Liberty here? Well, that is because business actually gifted the copper for the real Statue of Liberty to to France, who made it for the United States. And that was because there was a man called Charles de France who actually was in charge of operations at the copper mine, and he instructed the men to gift the copper to France, to give it to the United States. At the time, business was the biggest employer in Norway. It was very technologically advanced. It had electric lighting, it had telephones only 4 years after their invention, and there were more than 3,000 inhabitants in this small town. It was a real hub of a place to be. And so this was why the little Statue of Liberty was put here. This impressive looking monument was actually erected in 1872, and it was erected 1,000 years after Harold Fairhead allegedly united Norway through various battles in the fjord that we showed you earlier on with the sword in the rocks. And in 1872 there was a lot of nationalism and that kind of thing, and people were very keen to celebrate a unified Norway, and the 26 smaller obelisks around the edge celebrate the different regions that came together to make a unified Norway. And somebody came and was basically looking for the birthplace of Harold, or the death place of Harold Fairhead, and allegedly they found it here, so it does say here lies Harold Fairhead, but we're not sure, actually about 300 years, well, they're not sure now whether that was where he was buried or not, because they've now said that they don't think it was, but it's still quite an impressive monument, a very impressive monument actually, and it's got a stunning view from the top there as well. These 4 horses, originally these sculptures were situated on the River Thames in London. I don't know why they were moved, but they are depicting climate change, and they're called the Rising Tide, and they're put here because actually sometimes the horses' heads go underwater, and what they're saying is that eventually all of the horses will be right under the water with climate change and rising sea levels. And the heads of the horses are meant to look a little bit like nodding donkeys or oil drilling things, and that's meant to be to do with the apocalypse, or the climate apocalypse, I guess is what it's meant to be to do with. And yeah, very interesting actually. Beautiful sculptures in a fantastic setting as well. So we're on another ferry. This seems to be a feature of Norway. And before we came, we got a flight tag, which is a ferry pass, and it's definitely worthwhile because we're going to be going on 2 ferries today to get where we want to go to. And it gives you 50% off every ferry that you go on. And it seems to be working very effectively because Roger's had things saying, yes, you've paid for this ferry and that ferry, so that's great news. And Hodenes, did he say we're going to Hodenes? We basically came in here, we weren't too sure where we're going, we're not sure if we're meant to be on this ferry or not, but it's taking us in roughly the right direction, so we just thought, we'll just get on it and go anyway.
Yep, so it's a nice ferry crossing.
It's
so
a very
why
nice,
not?
there's only 8 cars on here as well, which is quite nice, so that's really good. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and send us a comment.